Welcome to Frasier on Film, the Frasier TV show podcast with a twist. Each episode of the podcast visits each episode of Frasier across its 11-series run. But our main focus isn't on the good doctor himself, no. It's going to be one of the guest appearances on the show that week. That could be one of the many A-listers who called into Frasier's KACL radio show, or just someone who made a fleeting appearance at Cafe Nervosa. We'll delve into that actor's backstory, look over their cinematic offerings, and deep dive into one movie specifically. By the end, we'll see if we can make a connection between their character in Frasier and their character in the film we've just talked about. So you'll be hearing about icons and wash-ups, legends and starlets, sherry drinkers and beer guzzlers, blockbusters and B-movies. It's going to be an education in it all. But what if you don't really watch Frasier? That's fine, you'll probably know the actors we're talking about. And if you don't really know the actors we're talking about, then that's fine too. You'll know the movies. So whether you're a fan of Frasier or you're a fan of film, this is the podcast for you. So, pull up your favourite bar stool at McGinty's and tell the wine club you'll be running late. Because this is Frasier on Film, and I'm your host, Ben Murray. And you're listening. What if Frasier was a video game, a point-and-click video game? Good Lord, everyone. Welcome to Frasier on Video Games, the first and possibly only episode of this little spin-off series. Why Frasier on Video Games? Because today's guest actor is Dean Erickson, who has a very major role in today's episode of Frasier, but he hasn't really, if at all, starred in a single film or television series beside Frasier. In fact, his only other documented acting performance is as Gabriel Knight in the second game of the famed series. Yes, he of The Beast Within, a Gabriel Knight mystery, the point-and-click video game from the 90s. Point-and-click video games. Oh, such nostalgia. They brought me so much joy. As a 12, 13-year-old kid with my Windows 95 machine playing Monkey Island, Phantasmagoria, Indiana Jones, Day of the Tentacle, point-and-click games. Good Lord, what a joy they are. We'll be delving into the Gabriel Knight stuff a little later. But since I can't watch a film and report back and review and connect to the episode of Frasier we're going to be talking about, I think I might actually have to track this game down somehow and at least start playing it to see what Dean Erickson's performance in it is all about. Now, this is a curious one as well, because I know that Erickson was actually a Wall Street trader originally too, before he became an actor briefly. So his journey could be quite an interesting one to unpack. I have to confess, so his one can be quite an interesting one to unpack. Oh, I'm just feeling nostalgic for the point-and-click games still. Specifically the Sierra-led games of the 90s. Gabriel Knight slipped past me at the time, so we'll have to see what that experience is like, if I can. But Gabriel Knight. Must everything always be about Gabriel Knight? No. In fact, everything will be about Eric in this episode, or it certainly will be for Daphne, and by that nature, for Niles. So, shall we dive into a midwinter's night dream and see where this unruly journey and experience of an episode will take us today? Get ready.
Frasier, that man is hitting on our Daphne. I don't know how she stands it.
Niles, look, apropos of nothing, how are things between you and Maris?
Are you implying that my concern for Daphne's welfare is anything less than pure?
I don't know, you tell me.
Frasier, that is your great shortcoming. You're always distrustful. You're always suspicious. Sometimes you just have to have faith that people are all right. What's he doing now?
I believe he's bagging her beans.
Oh.
Episode title, A Midwinter Night's Dream. Air date 10th of February 1994, written by Chuck Ramberg and Anne Flett Giordano, and directed by David Lee. I believe he's bagging her beans, says Frasier, as we encounter Eric in the coffee shop. So Eric has been in an episode of Frasier before and will be again, I believe. He's the waiter at Cafe Nervosa. Oh, sorry. Dean Erickson is in it, I should say. Dean Erickson. The waiter is called Eric. But this is the only time that Eric really gets anything of substance to do in Frasier. So what is this episode about broadly? It is Daphne getting it on with Eric. Eric and Daphne are flirting up front and center in this episode. And Niles has to just sit by and watch it happen. Niles is outraged. That man is hitting on our Daphne, he says. And this is interesting because it's also the first time that any of the characters in Frasier actually address the fact that Niles has this infatuation with Daphne. Frasier is the first to speak about it. Daphne, meanwhile, is very besotted with Eric the Red. Eric the Red, Dean Erickson, our man of the moment. He has got his slick back, ponytailed hair and goatee, and he talks to her in a very sensual and sexual way about the blends of coffee they have on at Nervosa. And anyway, Daphne arranges a date with him. Frasier reverts back to Niles and says, listen, this infatuation with Daphne's probably got something to do with the spice having gone out of your marriage with Maris. Maybe you need to dress it up a little bit in the boudoir. And Niles does that quite literally by dressing up as a swashbuckling pirate, and waiting to surprise Maris in the nude. Not in the nude, wearing an eye patch on his willy. Yes, an eye patch on his willy. And when Martin hears about that, he damn near has a heart attack. What's very interesting is when Niles turns up at Frasier's apartment later in this episode, dressed as a pirate, he's wearing a puffy shirt, which for years, having seen this episode, I never made the connection that this is the exact same brand of puffy shirt that Jerry wears in the puffy shirt episode of Seinfeld. Apparently this was actually a shirt that was released by a company. Wild stuff. But yeah, after initially being appalled by what happened, Martin does find it very funny. So Niles sleeps on Frasier's couch because Maris has kicked him out. And Martin says, listen, once Maris returns from having taken some time out, just do her a romantic meal, get her some flowers, and she will be fine. And Daphne says, well, I could do that. I could help you do that. So they make plans the following evening for Daphne to help prepare dinner for Maris's return.
I just got off the phone with Maris. She's in Arizona for the weekend.
Why?
Well, she said she was so shattered by the experience, she had to fly to her favorite spa to contemplate the future of our marriage from a mud bath.
Well, it'll probably be good for Mrs. Crane. Eric thinks the Earth is very grounding.
Eric! Must everything always be about Eric?
Cut to Act 2 of this film, which is very Emily Bronte. Frasier says it himself. Very Wuthering Heights, very Heathcliff, because Niles and Daphne are alone in the middle of a storm with the lights out at the house, the heating out, with nothing but each other for company. And things start to get a little bit sexually tense, ever so slightly, right to the point of Niles' glockenspiel springing to life in the middle of the night. The lights are low. A tree has blown down in the driveway, shutting them both in. It's more Maris's mansion than his. And Daphne reveals that Eric broke up with her. Oh, you terrible man, Dean Erickson. How could you do that to our dear Daphne? But Eric has broken up with her, so Niles offers her comfort, and as they get closer and closer, Frasier catches wind of what's happening and is racing across town in the car with Martin. Very funny stuff. The rain is pouring down, and we get this great moment at the end where Niles is potentially just about to kiss Daphne. She doesn't realise it, and his glockenspiel springs to life. Big laugh, and just as there is a very innocent kiss planted on Niles' cheek by Daphne, Frasier sees it and is banging on the window. No, as the rain comes pouring down. Excellent stuff. And the episode ends with big laughs, big jokes, etc., etc. The thing that's kind of sweet about this episode is it actually does reaffirm the fact that Niles does love Maris, despite the seeds of love for Daphne, which are obviously going to bloom later. It comes back to the fact that he does love her. She treats him appallingly, though, but he does love her. He says it, love is a funny thing, isn't it? Sometimes it's new and exciting, and sometimes it's something comfortable and familiar. And it's quite an interesting way of putting it. And when Daphne tells Frasier what he said later, she comically misrepresents what it was. But it was very good. It all gets sorted and we end with a piano medley, and Eric is forgotten about, but Dean Erickson is not, because we'll be coming on to him very, very shortly. It is a great episode. This is an iconic episode of Frasier. This is one from season 1 which I would recommend anyone new to Frasier watch, and if you don't like it, you ain't gonna like the show. This is also the first time that we get to see Niles' mansion, or Maris's mansion, I should say, and it will the only set that's ever used to represent this house is this shot, what we see here. So then, Eric may have broken Daphne's heart, but hopefully we can open ours up to him nevertheless. Let us go and find out a little bit about our man of the moment, Dean Erickson.
Thought I might run into you here. Oh, please, sit. I just stopped in for a bag of beans. We're running low at home.
Oh, well, good.
I'd be happy to help.
Oh, 2 pounds of the Kenya blend. You remembered.
Hard to forget.
Excuse me, you haven't taken my order yet.
Most people find that blend too intense.
Not me. I like something that holds its body on my tongue.
Excuse me, we seem to have spilled something here. If you could just...
I don't suppose you'd be interested in something robust, if it didn't come on too strong.
Oh, if it was a little bit sweet, I might take a liking to it.
Would you like to step over to the counter and try my special blend?
I'd love to.
This is going to be really interesting because the guy is... Yeah, well, come on, let's just get into it. Forget it. So Dean Erickson, born December the 5th, 1958 in Maine. So he is an actor, obviously, because of what he did in Frasier and what he's done in video games. But he's also a writer, and most recently, and most relevantly, I suppose, because this is his existing area of work, he's the founder and CEO of Bionic Capital, LLC, which is a registered investment advisory firm. Oh dear, Dean, that's so dull by comparison. It's okay, you're making money fine, but come on, we needed you to stay being an actor and making video games. He is, of course, best known for playing Gabriel Knight in The Beast Within. And, weirdly, Eric, Daphne's love interest and Cafe Nervosa waiter, in season 1 of Frasier. So we are covering his only acting credits on the show today. We'll get to Gabriel Knight shortly. So the guy went to Brown University, and upon graduating, he went to Wall Street and became an options trader and risk arbitrator. I have zero interest in finding out what that is, but well done. If that's a good thing, I mean, yeah, let's just leave that alone, shall we? Fair enough. He did that. Well, obviously he turned his back on it. He did that for 6 years, and then he decided to become an actor. So 6 years of working on Wall Street was clearly enough for him. So he did stage work, that has to be said. He did a bunch of Shakespeare productions, but his first feature, his first thing in the spotlight, really, were the few episodes of Frasier that he appeared in as Eric. Like I said, he's been in a few before today's episode, and I think he'll be in 1 or 2 more, but obviously never as prominent as he was in this episode as Eric. He obviously did some work on Gabriel Knight, but we'll come to that shortly. But after that, he then turned to focus on writing. He published a mystery novel called No One Laughs at a Dead Clown under the name DC Erickson, and he also released a self-help book called Choose Your Story, Choose Your Life.
Hi, I'm Dean Erickson, author of the new self-help book Choose Your Story, Choose Your Life. In the book, I'll lead you through an incisive exercise to help you determine your best story in order to support your best life. It's a fast, fun read and contains a workbook in the appendices. Just add a pen and a willing attitude, and you're on your way to living your best life.
And in 2010, he was elected to the Mid-Coast Maine Sports Hall of Fame. And if you try and find out how and why, it's almost impossible to. But obviously he has some sports chops. I never thought he was particularly broad when I saw him. He didn't look particularly athletic, but he obviously had something. So there are some interesting things that can be found out about Dean in his own words. He says he grew up in a business-oriented family. His father owned and ran various businesses, from chicken farms to a car dealership. Do we count chicken farms as a business? I guess it is. I'm not saying that in a belittling way. I guess running a chicken farm is a business. To a business rebuilding old houses and brokering real estate. And he says, at its best, a business should benefit all involved, from owners, employees, and vendors to consumers. He says, that's what I try to do at Bionic Capital and in every business. So drilling into what Bionic Capital LLC is a little bit more. So he's the manager, he's the owner, he's the founder. It's Bionic Capital Wealth Management. Oh my God, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. I have no interest in this in real life, but we're digging into Dean. They provide professionally managed investment strategies, individualized wealth advice, and long-term financial problem solving for every client. Their goal is to solve your needs. So we deliver multiple low-cost investment strategies and adapt them as your needs evolve. Do better, go Bionic. I don't know if that counts as advertising, but if they do get any new clients as a result of this podcast, I will be coming for my cut, Dean. Let's go to the more interesting stuff again. We spoke about the books. They came after being an actor, doing professional roles such as Eric the Red on Frasier and Gabriel Knight in The Beast Within. Writing for him seemed to be a natural progression, and he wrote several screenplays before he wrote his books. He got the crazy idea to write a novel. He survived that and then wrote 2 personal development books that are based on his life experiences. You can check out some of his self-help videos on YouTube also. He also is a musician, very much so, and he enjoys telling stories through writing and through songwriting. He has written a few songs. He loves music. He wants to create while doing this business stuff, and I have to respect that. He hasn't lost the creative bone. Here is an example of some of the music he makes.
So let's change the game, make love the change, make love the change, head is not ordained, make love the change.
He admits himself that he would prefer someone with a better voice would sing those songs. He just likes to write them. But he's found that sometimes you just have to do it yourself to get it done. He seems very sweet. On his website, he says, I hope you enjoy the stories and the messages. Look, nice guy. I guess. He seems very sweet. Seems to be much more to him than Eric the Red, anyway. But what I'm really curious about is Gabriel Knight. Let's get into that one, please, because the point-and-click series of games was always very, very fascinating to me, and that's really where I want to spend my time today. So let's delve into his appearance as Gabriel Knight in the Beast Within video game.
Oh, hello, Mr. Knight. I have orders to show you one of the wolves.
Really? That would be swell.
Please stay calm and go slow. They don't like strangers. This is a special treat I use to make them come to me. They love it. Marguerite, komm her. Komm mal hier, Mädchen. Marguerite, schau mal, was ich hier hab.
Hey, girl. Good girl.
Ach, how strange, she likes you.
I have a way with women. She's wearing a tag.
All the wolves here wear them.
She's wearing a tag.
All the wolves here wear them.
So here we go. This is going to be fun. Let's do it a little bit different. This is a bit fun doing something different, isn't it? Forget the films. Let's do video games just for one episode, just for one. So, I don't know. Some of you may have played Gabriel Knight. Some of you may be familiar with point-and-click adventure games. But for context, for those who don't, or for those who are too young, or for those who are too old for the movement, in the late 90s, there was this spurt of CD-ROM games that you could buy, insert into your Windows machine. And instead of gripping your PlayStation controller, you would just click around with your mouse and maybe go up and down and left and right on your keyboard to move characters around and click to interact with the environment. And one of the most iconic ones was Monkey Island. I adored Monkey Island, right from the very basic Monkey Island 1, which I think was called The Secret of Monkey Island, through to Monkey Island 3, which is The Curse of Monkey Island. I think I might have got that wrong. There's A Secret of Monkey Island, The Curse of Monkey Island, LeChuck's Revenge, a few others. They were all animated with a great sense of humour, and there was a story, and you were responsible for propelling it forward by clicking on the right characters in the right places and combining the right items with the right environments at the right times. They brought me countless hours and hours of fun. They started evolving to quite a complex level. I remember playing something called Grim Fandango, and I guess now the natural evolution in the last 10 years of those would be when you play some of the games on PlayStation like Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, that kind of thing. More of a movie than a game in many ways. My favourites from the Sierra-led package of point-and-click games was one singular one actually, Phantasmagoria 2, because it was terrifying. I can't even begin to describe it for those who haven't played it, what the experience was like. I guess now if you try to play it, it would probably seem very campy and very silly. But at the time, it was an 18-rated game, and I was a young kid, and I was playing this, and it was about an office worker who was just going through hell and uncovering literal hell through his work and the people he worked with. It was terrifying, and I was addicted, and I loved those games. And I feel like when I used to go to HMV or Virgin Megastores, whatever shop I used to buy my games from, I used to see Gabriel Knight. From memory, it was a cover of a very windswept Heathcliff-like character on the cover. And I think because it looked like kind of a period game, I didn't really want to play it. I wanted to play more modern games, so I never picked it up. So, of course, Frasier, years later, and Dean Erickson would lead me here finally and eventually. So what I did in preparation for this episode, there is a 8.5 hour walkthrough gameplay video of Gabriel Knight, The Beast Within, a Gabriel Knight mystery on YouTube, which is the only one that Dean Erickson's in. The first Gabriel Knight was just computer animated. The second one was video content. And that's what Phantasmagoria was. It was, you could point and click these characters who were moving around in front of a green screen that they had superimposed a background, that superimposed something onto a green screen background. So they just had actors in a studio, but it constantly looked like they were in different environments. It was super cool. And that's what was done with this. So I watched the first 2 chapters of the game on YouTube, which is about 2 hours, 2 and a bit hours of that 8.5 hour entire walkthrough. I will be returning in one format or another. I will either get the game and play it myself to complete that story, or I will continue watching that YouTube video. It's all going to depend on how easy it is for me to actually get my hands on that game now. So, for a bit of context, Gabriel Knight, the first game was called Sins of the Father. It came out in 1993, and it was done in the third-person style with comic book style art that was used for the story cutscenes. Tim Curry, yes, the legendary actor Tim Curry actually played Gabriel Knight. He was the voice of Gabriel Knight originally, and Mark Hamill played the voice of one of his detective friends. And there is a character in it, his assistant and friend, called Grace Nakamura. And in that storyline, I haven't played it, by the way. I've just did this for research. There is he's a novelist, Gabriel Knight. He's a novelist, and there are some voodoo murders that take place, and he begins investigating it because he thinks it will make good material for his book. But as he gets deeper and deeper into the investigations, he also discovers that he is connected to this historical lineage, the Ritter family, making him the latest in a line of Schattenjägers, which are shadow hunters, people who are meant to fight those who use supernatural methods to threaten innocent lives. That was all animated originally. Then The Beast Within, a Gabriel Knight mystery came along. Video content. So, having not played the first game and having watched the first 2 hours or so of this walkthrough, what can I say about it? First of all, it's delightful. I absolutely wish I had played it back in the day, and I am going to try hard to find a workable version that I can play. So we're introduced to Dean Erickson as Gabriel Knight very early on. He is sitting in a castle at a typewriter, and he's bashing away at the keys, and then a bunch of villagers knock on his castle door, and say that a little girl has been murdered by a werewolf. Can you help us? We know you're a Schattenjäger. And he says yes. And for the next 2 hours or so, you click around his room in the castle, you click around getting his car keys, he gets in his car and he drives into Munich and he goes to visit the zoo to find out what the story was behind some wolves escaping from the zoo. He goes to the city to encounter a lawyer who, I don't really know why he encounters the lawyer. The lawyer's just helping him out with stuff in Berlin, it seems. He goes to a hunting lodge and joins a hunting lodge, but only to uncover mysteries, to uncover the story behind these wolves. And it's all very cool. It is, if you like that kind of thing. There are some really hard moments in it. Like, if I wasn't watching a walkthrough, I don't know how long it would take me to piece together some things, because the whole idea of these point-and-click games is it's a puzzle that you have to work through. So he has a conversation with a handyman at the zoo, and then he has a conversation with a doctor who oversees things at the zoo. And then you have to go back to his room at the castle, and you discover that he's recorded both of the conversations on cassette tape, and there is a transcript. And then you have to splice words from the different transcripts to create a new audio recording, which you can then play down the phone to trick the handyman to let you into the wolf enclosure. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. But I think if I was playing that at the time, I would have been stuck on that for weeks. You got to remember back then, like 97, 98, I'm talking about, you couldn't find a walkthrough. Not very easily. And the walkthroughs you could find were actual books that you had to go and buy for like £20. So you really were immersed in these stories back then. You spent time with these characters. And that's what I love, because you can clearly see all the classic stuff of those point-and-click games. Dean Erickson is just standing there, leaning and twisting, twitching against a green screen. They have all these looks that they have to just replicate all the time for different situations. Every time he gets his car keys out, they jangle in the same way as he stands by his car. He looks so 90s in this. He really does. He looks so 90s. It's fantastic. There's such a sentimentality that I have for these games because of the closeness of it all. You're in it. You're living in the story, in the film, and that's why, as I've walked away from it now, I want to find out what happened. There's so many cool things. Every time you walk into a different section of the city, the same bit of guitar is playing because they just loop the background video for every cutscene that you move into. It's good. It is good. Chapter 2, less good, because suddenly you leave the agency of Gabriel Knight's story, which you've been playing for like an hour and a bit, and you move to Grace, who comes from America to Munich to help him with the case, and then you just stay with Grace. But Grace is like this jealous woman who I couldn't even work out if she was meant to be in a relationship with Gabriel Knight or not. But when she turns up, she's really jealous that there's another woman looking after the castle, and she's like screaming and ranting at times, and she just ends up walking around encountering various people going, where's Gabriel Knight, and just talking stories and stuff that isn't very interesting. And that was a shame, because that really put a break on proceedings. And that, if anything, made me think, maybe I won't get the game, because if I have to play as Grace for half the time, I don't want to. Not a sexist thing, it's just that it probably was, but by the creators of the game, because they just gave her nothing interesting to do. She just serves as someone who's there to mop up after Gabriel Knight, it seems. I don't know why she fancies him. I mean, I don't find this guy attractive. He's a very 90s cliche kind of guy, but there you go. We do get to see Grace do some passageway action at the castle and finding out that actually people have been coming into the castle. And there is enough mystery there that I am very genuinely interested to find out what the story is. Like, there's a great moment where Gabriel Knight he gets access to the wolf enclosure at the zoo, and he's stroking the wolf, and then he pockets some wolf hair. And then you have to take the wolf hair to this place downtown in Munich to get the hair analyzed. And the guy's like, oh yeah, this must be a hybrid wolf, because this is not a normal wolf sample. This is a wolf crossed with something. And we're like, oh yeah, crossed with human perhaps, right? And I don't know which of the characters we've met is going to be the werewolf, which is also what's tantalizing. There are a few obvious candidates, but I don't know if it is obvious and it will be them, or if it's one of those we're throwing obvious people your way, but it's not going to be them kind of things. So if I can download the game and play it, I will. If you like these sorts of games, I encourage you to hunt them out, check them out and play them yourself, because this one is a real throwback. I just wish that there was a good modifier. Does anyone know of one? I have a Steam Deck on my Mac, which I was able to download in the past some games to and then transfer them through some convoluted method to my phone and play on my phone. But I couldn't play it on the actual laptop itself, which is what I wanted to do. So I think I am going to have to just hold off on watching any more of that YouTube video so that I can actually try and play the game and immerse myself in it. What can be said about Dean Erickson in it, though? I mean, this is a fascinating character, a fascinating episode. It's not going to be long. We're going to be wrapping up fairly soon because it's only this and Frasier we've got to talk about. But in it, he has a bizarre bit of range in it that I think represents a lot of video game actors at the time. And when I say video game actors, I mean amateur actors who were not getting big roles that were then recruited by these companies like Sierra, who said, hey, we want you in our video game. We just need you to stand in front of a green screen for a week and we're going to have you recite off a bunch of lines and do a bunch of actions. And he does it with aplomb. He's got more range and he's got more to work with than he does in Frasier. And it's quite interesting, and it was engaging enough to the point that when he wasn't on the screen, I was like, bring Dean Erickson back. I want to see Gabriel Knight. And he has this funny accent. He's got this really windswept hair. He has this sort of cockiness to him, but not too much that it's irritating. It's the kind of character you want to play as in one of those point and clicks. So I'm hoping that I will get the chance to actually control Dean Erickson in the very near future and move him around. And if I do, and if I get to the end of the story, maybe I'll just do a little revisitation episode just to let you know how it all got wrapped up. But I appreciate what he did, and look, he obviously wanted to go off and do other things. He experienced Frasier, he experienced Gabriel Knight. If he came from a business background and he worked on Wall Street for 6 years, he was probably like, listen, I've had my fun, but I need to merge back into business, and maybe I'll have a few more strings to my bow with some creative outlets here and there. But how many of us can say, yeah, I was in an episode of a really highly rated TV show and I was the lead in a video game, and now I'm just working. The rest of us are just working. We're just doing our jobs. Most of us doing very boring jobs. But he's doing what I would see as a boring job, and he has this really eclectic, interesting lifestyle that he did, things that he did and things that he is doing on the side. So cool. Well done, Dean. You've made me want to play Gabriel Knight, A Beast Within, decades after it came out. What better endorsement can there be for someone's acting career?
I just really feel the need to make a connection.
Well, Niles, I think you've made a connection. It just seems a little bit extreme, though, you know?
So there we are. Okay, Crane Connection time. Time in the episode where we link our guest star, the one we're focusing on this week, across their two performances. Specifically this week, we will link Dean Erickson's performance as Eric the Red to Dean Erickson's performance as Gabriel Knight in The Beast Within. So let's see here. So, okay, what have I said already? Gabriel Knight, slick 90s guy who just cannot exist outside of that decade. Very windswept hair, baggy pants, coats, jackets, demeanor at times, and an overall spirit which just oozes 90s. Borderline yuppie. And similarly, his Eric the Red is serving yuppies. He's a waiter. He's a ponytailed 90s cliche himself. But actually, outside of being 90s cliches, Gabriel Knight and Eric the Red have these women besotted with them for no real reason that I can comprehend, and it drives them mad. Yes, there's a certain charm, maybe, but Daphne's in tears after one date with Eric. And Grace, who comes all the way from America to Munich, is acting all sorts of crazy, really jealous in part 2 of the video game. So what we can connect is 90s cliched hot stuff. I guess that's what both characters are, 90s cliche hot stuff. They just don't stand up to 21st century scrutiny as embodiments of cool. But Gabriel Knight, yeah, that's a character that's got legs. That's a character for the ages. I want a bit more of you, Gabriel. So let us once again say goodbye to Frasier and goodbye to Niles and Daphne and their first night alone as an almost couple. Goodbye to our coffee-slinging, guitar-wielding waiter, Eric the Red. Goodbye to Dean Erickson, who worked on Wall Street, cable TV, video games, the music industry, the book industry, and now some other industry. And goodbye to Gabriel Knight, who's out there somewhere, waiting for me to revisit him in some capacity, just as soon as I can find the right download link and operating software to support him. And as always, thank you to you, listeners. Thanks for liking, for subscribing, for sharing, for talking about the podcast, all of that good stuff. You can stay up to date by following me on whatever platform you want to. Just look for Frasier on Film. If it's a social media platform or a podcasting platform, I'll be there. You can drop me an email if you want, frasieronfilm@gmail.com, and even drop me a review if you are feeling so inclined. Next week's episode of Frasier takes us to the glitz and glamour of an award show, as Frasier is nominated for a CB, but he's up against a legend of the broadcasting game in Fletcher Gray, who's played by our guest star of the week, John McMartin. John McMartin, who I know precious little about. So off we go on another adventure with no known destination other than his starring performance opposite Shirley MacLaine in 1969's musical comedy Sweet Charity. Eric the Red has left the building.